In 1969, when Neil Armstrong stepped onto the moon's surface, the rocket that took him there should have belonged to a man
We need to
sitting
proceed
in a
with
prison cell,
extreme caution.
because the creator of that
proposal
rocket
is,
was Wernher von Braun,
Unorthodox.
Hitler's favorite scientist. And this man, whose hands were stained with the blood of 20,000 innocent people, had become
What?
America's space hero.
What is the meaning of this data?
But this story doesn't start on the moon. It starts in the underground tunnels of Nazi Germany, where slaves were dying to build the weapons that would change the world forever. Welcome to Classified, Hidden Histories, where we uncover the secrets they never wanted you to know. I'm your host, and today, we're diving into one of the most shocking cover-ups in American history. The year is 1943. Deep beneath a mountain in central Germany, in a place called Mittelbau-Dora, 20,000 prisoners are building the future. They work 18-hour shifts in freezing tunnels, assembling Hitler's secret weapon, the V-2 rocket. Above ground, Nazi scientists in crisp uniforms discuss trajectory calculations. Below ground, prisoners collapse from exhaustion and are left to die where they fall. The man overseeing this horror factory is Dr. Wernher von Braun, just 31 years old, with the boyish face of someone who dreams of reaching the stars. But von Braun's rockets aren't meant for exploration. They're meant for terror. Every day, von Braun walks through these tunnels. He sees the corpses. He sees the suffering. He signs the orders for more prisoners. Because in his mind, these deaths are the price of progress, the price of reaching space. When a V-2 rocket screams across the English Channel and explodes in London, killing entire families in their sleep, von Braun feels no guilt. He later writes in his diary, "I have learned to live with the fact that people will die for my dreams." By 1944, his V-2 rockets have killed over 9,000 civilians in London and Antwerp. But in the tunnels of Mittelbau-Dora, 20,000 prisoners have died building them. 20,000 souls sacrificed on the altar of von Braun's ambition. May 8, 1945. Nazi Germany surrenders. The war is over. Justice should be swift for war criminals like von Braun. But instead of handcuffs, he receives something unexpected: an American handshake. Because while the world is celebrating victory, a secret American operation is already underway. Its codename, Operation Paperclip. Its mission, to recruit Nazi scientists before the Soviet Union can get them. The architect of this plan is a man named Allen Dulles, future director of the CIA. Dulles has a simple philosophy. Morality is a luxury America can't afford in the coming Cold War with Russia. If Nazi scientists can give America an advantage, then Nazi scientists they shall have. Von Braun is the crown jewel of Operation Paperclip. When American intelligence officers find him hiding in the Bavarian Alps, he hands them a typed list of his rocket team's locations. He's been preparing for this moment, knowing that his knowledge is his ticket to survival. The Americans face a problem. Bringing Nazi war criminals to the United States would outrage the American public. So they simply change the paperwork. They literally attach new sheets of paper with paper clips over the sections documenting von Braun's war crimes. Hence the operation's name. Von Braun's SS membership, paperclipped over. His use of slave labor, paperclipped over. His visits to select prisoners for his rocket program, paperclipped over. With a few paper clips and some creative typing, a war criminal becomes a refugee scientist seeking freedom. September 1945. Wernher von Braun arrives at Fort Bliss, Texas, along with 117 other German rocket scientists. They're given comfortable houses, American cars, and new identities. The man who once wore an SS uniform now wears cowboy boots and calls himself an American patriot. But the American people don't know who their new neighbor really is. The government tells them these are reformed German scientists who want to help America stay safe from communism. The media paints von Braun as a visionary who turned his back on evil to serve the cause of freedom. Von Braun plays his role perfectly. He learns English, joins the local church, and smiles for photographers. When reporters ask about his past, he gives the same rehearsed answer. I was never a real Nazi. I was just a dreamer who wanted to reach the stars. The lie works because people want to believe it. In 1950s America, fighting communism justifies almost anything. Von Braun becomes the friendly face of American technological superiority, 1957. The Soviet Union launches Sputnik, sending shockwaves through America. Suddenly, the space race isn't theoretical anymore. It's a matter of national survival. America needs a rocket hero, and von Braun is ready. He appears on television shows, explaining rocket science to fascinated audiences. Walt Disney makes him the star of a series about space exploration. American children start building model rockets and dreaming of becoming astronauts, inspired by the charming German scientist who makes the impossible seem achievable. When President Kennedy announces the goal of landing on the moon, von Braun becomes the most important man in America. His Saturn V rocket will be the vehicle that fulfills Kennedy's promise. Every successful launch makes von Braun more famous, more beloved, more untouchable. The media calls him the father of the American space program. NASA promotes him to director of the Marshall Space Flight Center. He receives honorary doctorates from universities across the country. He becomes everything he always wanted to be, a hero. But in the quiet moments between launches, does von Braun remember the faces of the 20,000 who died for his dreams? Does he think about the children in London who were vaporized by his rockets? His public statements suggest he doesn't. He tells reporters, I have learned to look forward, not backward. The past is the past. July 20th, 1969. Neil Armstrong steps onto the lunar surface, and the world cheers. America has won the space race. Von Braun, watching from mission control, allows himself a moment of pure triumph. He has achieved immortality. But even in his moment of greatest glory, the ghosts of his past hover nearby. 3 weeks after the moon landing, a former prisoner from Mittelbau-Dora publishes a letter in a German newspaper. He describes watching his fellow prisoners die while building von Braun's rockets. He asks a simple question. How can America celebrate a man who built his success on our corpses? The letter is mostly ignored by American media. The moon landing euphoria is too powerful to be disrupted by inconvenient truths about the past. Von Braun issues a statement through NASA. I deeply regret any suffering that occurred during the war, but I believe history will judge me by my contributions to peace and exploration. For most Americans, that's enough. The hero narrative is too satisfying to abandon. Von Braun continues to be celebrated, honored, and remembered as one of the great pioneers of human achievement. Von Braun dies in 1977, having never faced trial for war crimes. His obituaries focus on his space achievements, barely mentioning his Nazi past. The New York Times calls him a visionary who helped humanity reach for the stars. But Operation Paperclip involved more than just von Braun. Over 1,600 Nazi scientists were brought to America, their pasts sanitized, their crimes forgotten. They worked on chemical weapons, biological warfare research, and psychological experiments. Some became university professors. Others joined major corporations. Many lived comfortable American lives until natural death. The program remained classified until the 1970s, when investigative journalists finally exposed the truth. By then, most of the scientists were elderly or dead. There would be no reckoning, no justice, no accountability. The American government's defense was simple. Operation Paperclip was necessary for national security. The Cold War required moral compromises. The ends justified the means. But what were those ends really? America did win the space race. American rockets did reach the moon first. American military technology did help contain Soviet expansion. Was it worth it? That depends on how you value human life, how you weigh justice against pragmatism, how comfortable you are with the idea that heroes and monsters can be the same person. Today, von Braun's name adorns a NASA research center in Alabama. Schools are named after him. His rockets are displayed in museums as monuments to human ingenuity. Children still learn about the brilliant scientist who helped America reach the moon. But in Germany, there's a different kind of memorial. At the site of Mittelbau-Dora, now a museum, 20,000 names are carved in stone. They represent the prisoners who died building von Braun's rockets. Visitors can walk through the tunnels where they suffered and died, where their blood and sweat became the foundation of the American space program. The museum asks a question that America has never fully answered. Can you separate a man's achievements from his crimes? Can you celebrate the moon landing while acknowledging the deaths that made it possible? Can a war criminal become a hero simply by changing countries? These questions matter because Operation Paperclip established a precedent that America continues to follow today. When national security is at stake, moral considerations become secondary. When strategic advantages are available, inconvenient truths get paperclipped over. The next time you look up at the moon and marvel at human achievement, remember the full cost of getting there. Remember that every great leap forward is built on the shoulders of those who came before, even when those shoulders belong to the victims of the very people we celebrate as heroes. The truth about Operation Paperclip forces us to confront an uncomfortable reality. The line between hero and villain is often drawn not by actions, but by who wins the war. And in America's case, the winners got to write not just the history books, but the obituaries too. Von Braun's rockets did take humanity to the moon, but they were built on a foundation of 20,000 graves. That is the true legacy of Operation Paperclip, not just what we achieved, but what we sacrificed and what we chose to forget in order to achieve it.